To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. We will, of course, get to politics and Governor Ron DeSantis' first turn on the national debate stage. We'll do that a little later in the broadcast. First today, my guest, Sharon L'Herrou, CEO, president of 211 for the Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast, a guest many times over the years on To the Point. For the probably 3 people in all of the community who don't know what 211 is, it's such a vital resource. Give us the quick thumbnail before we dive into some of the issues that are important to you right now.
Sure. Hi, Michael. Thanks for having me. 211 Palm Beach Treasure Coast is the local helpline and hotline for this entire community. 24/7 when people aren't sure where to turn and they're struggling with life's issues or even having a mental health crisis, they can call us, and caring, trained people are there for them all the time.
Always an anonymous call.
It can be completely anonymous.
It's entirely,
exactly, it's entirely up to you.
And when you say help, we're going to talk more about mental health issues in a moment, but talk a little bit more about the other variety of things you offer.
Sure. We help people with everything from daily issues around they can't make ends meet, and 44% of the people in Palm Beach County right now are struggling to make ends meet, right? Are one paycheck away from disaster. So we can connect people to supports for utilities help, rental assistance, food help, food pantries.
Help with the children.
Help with the children, exactly. So you're familiar with all of our services, and that's so great.
Give 211 a call if you're in that kind of need.
Exactly.
It's a service, a vital service in the community. We're coming up on Suicide Prevention Month, and I know that's so important. We unfortunately do stories all the time or hear about them, about the need for people to aware. Frame the issue, the scope of it, frame the issue as you see it, and the help that's out there.
Sure. So we, unfortunately, in this country have been in the midst of a mental health crisis, a growing crisis even before the pandemic. And the pandemic did not make the situation easier. So we have sadly seen increases in suicidal rates, increases in suicidal thoughts, and increases of reports of general anxiety and distress. And so we want to remind people that if they're thinking about harming themselves, or even if they're just feeling completely overwhelmed and struggling, that a caring, trained person is there for them anytime they are ready to talk. We can talk to them and talk to them about the issues and help them through.
What about the person who says, well, but that's not me. I'm not going to make that call. I'm embarrassed. Or it's my loved one. I think I may see signs, but I'm not sure. What do you say to that person watching the broadcast now who may feel that way or may know somebody who does, or has somebody within the family or a dear friend?
That's a great question. So let me start with if it's you. If it's you, what I want to say is that the people on our team are real life people. We're neighbors. We're people that care about other people. So it's a friendly, patient, non-judgmental voice. So give it a try. If you're struggling, give it a try. If it's somebody you know or love, certainly encourage them to call us as well. But if they won't, you can call and we can talk to you about what you might want to do or how to cope with that situation.
You talked about the mental health crisis spiral.
Yes.
I know there are a lot of reasons, but what are the chief ones as to why we've seen that spiral before, during, and of course after COVID as well?
So there are a lot of theories around it. One of them is simply that in our society right now, there's a lot of pressure in every direction. So most families have to work multiple jobs to make ends meet. I mentioned the statistic that so many families are struggling, housing costs are skyrocketing. So these pressures and often lack of community supports, families that live far away from relatives and people could help, that adds pressure to our lives, and that contributes to these mental health challenges.
And we hear about people who feel economically dislocated, a fancy way of saying they're either in a job that's not paying them enough, or they're moving to the next job, or they feel their identity as a worker is no longer there. They're having family issues, so many things that go into that. As part of that, you all set up an additional hotline next year, 988.
Yes.
Talk about that. I know it's important.
It is. It's actually a national number, and the idea was that there used to be a national 10-digit number, and that was hard for people to remember. So we collectively decided an easier number to remember is 988. Locally, it's even easier. You can dial 211 or 988. It's our same team. But if you are struggling, having a mental health challenge, thinking about hurting yourself, you can simply dial 988 anywhere in the country and get trained caring people that will talk to you about the crisis, give you support or resources if you're ready for that. Otherwise, just talk to you about where you are.
How do you all incorporate your work with local law enforcement agencies that so often go out to situations that for many years, and I'm talking a long time ago, really didn't have the training for? There's been a lot more in the way of that training over the last many years. How do you incorporate with them?
Yeah, we are such close partners with law enforcement. We actually just worked together with Palm Beach Sheriff's Office on a grant to incorporate training both with their teams and our teams. So we work closely with them. I will say that what our team is trained to do first is de-escalate ourselves, and we also have the benefit in this community of what's called a mobile response team that's not law enforcement. So if someone needs a responder who's a trained behavioral health specialist to go out to the home, we can send that. We can dispatch that for them as a preventative to avoid getting law enforcement involved.
Talk a little more about the work you're doing with law enforcement, like a PBSO, and of course this work's going on across our 5-county region, but talk a little more in depth about that.
Well, we have, we participate in task forces together, we review one another's policies and procedures, we collaborate on whatever issues are of the day. So one is violence prevention, another one would be the youth mental health crisis. So we are partners, we're collaborative partners.
A lot of people say that's them, not me, but there's no that's them, not me when it comes to these issues.
No, there's no that's them. Statistically, 1 in 5 in their lifetime will have a mental health challenge, and we need to remember that mental health is part of our regular health, right? Mental health is health, so you need to be thinking of it more as wellness and not it's them. It's all of us.
More broadly, I always hear people say to me, it just seems like it's a crisis that's spiraling out of control and there's no way to get our arms around it. As you look beyond just what 211 does, talk a little more broadly about that. How do we as a community do a better job? How do we begin to do a better job to wrap our arms around this? Is the funding really there? There's always complaints there's not nearly enough funding. There's debates about institutionalization that turned to deinstitutionalization and the like. It's not a problem that can be solved tomorrow, but talk about some of the markers that need to be discussed if we're going to be really serious about dealing with this.
So funding is a big one. You know, we need more funding. We need to prioritize mental health and health supports, right, obviously, but that's a challenging topic. So if we wanted to talk about as a community what we can do, there are a lot of upsetting statistics, but at the same time there's some good news, and some of the good news is that we're in a very caring community where we work together to solve a lot of problems. And if you are worried about it, get involved with a task force, volunteer your time. One of the best things we can do for our own and others' mental health is relationship connections. So say hi, be kind.
Let me ask you about something I hear from people in parts of our community say we feel, and they blame us generally in the media sometimes, that the stories, somebody had a mental health crisis, they become violent. Statistically, are people who have mental health issues any more likely to become violent than those who are not, quote unquote, dealing with such issues?
No, it's very, very rare for that to be the case. So, so we don't emphasize
we need to erase
that at all.
No,
exactly.
and we need to erase that stigma, in other words, is my point.
We do. We need to focus on wellness and health and supporting one another.
Final message?
Final message, 24/7, help is here for you. We care about you. 211, call, text, or chat, and we wish you all well.
As always, Sharon L'Herrou, President, CEO of 211 Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast. An important message anytime, and as we move into Suicide Prevention Month, particularly important one to talk about as young people go back to school, people out in the workforce dealing with so many things. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you very much.